Keir Starmer, once hailed as the saviour of the Labour Party, now faces intense scrutiny after a series of significant missteps. With his credibility under threat, his recent blunders have raised serious questions about his political future. Why is this particular mistake attracting so much attention, and what does it reveal about Labour's foreign policy? We will delve into the real-world consequences of Starmer's statements and the role of Britain on the international stage. Trust me, you won't want to miss this.
The fact that Assad has gone, the Syrian people had to put up with his brutal regime for far, far too long. We're talking to regional allies. It's very important now that there's a political settlement, a political way forward, and it's very, very important that we emphasise that civilians and minorities must be protected in this process. It is a good thing that Assad is gone, a very good thing for the Syrian people. What we must also ensure as we go through this, the rejection of terrorism and violence, that civilians are protected, minorities are protected, and that can only be through a political process. That's what we're talking to allies in the region about.
Starmer's recent statements regarding Syria have been controversial, as he has called for dialogue with the Syrian regime, including Hayat Tahrir al-Sham (HTS), a group linked to al-Qaeda. This has sparked concern about overlooking Syria's egregious human rights abuses. While Sir John Sawers, the former head of MI6, has acknowledged the need for dialogue, he has also cautioned about the risks associated with HTS. Starmer's speech has been criticised for a lack of understanding of regional dynamics and for potentially damaging consequences for British foreign policy, undermining the Labour Party's credibility on international matters. Historically, the Labour Party has championed the rights of refugees, but Starmer has reversed course by cancelling a £52 million programme designed to help refugees learn English and find employment, despite the programme being funded until 2025. Starmer's current immigration policy has come under intense criticism, with over half of voters expressing dissatisfaction with his handling of the issue. The cancellation of the support programme has caused public disappointment, and may make it harder for refugees to integrate into society. The misstep in refugee policy is just the beginning, and his subsequent misjudgments on foreign policy may cause further difficulties, leading even his supporters to question his leadership. Starmer's comments regarding Syria in the Partners for Peace strategy have surprised international diplomats. A senior official stated that Starmer lacks an understanding of the complexities of Middle Eastern politics, viewing Syria as an isolated issue and overlooking the historical rivalries and alliances within the region. He also committed a cultural blunder by portraying the Arab Spring as a positive step towards democracy, failing to recognise its failures in many countries. These statements have led Middle Eastern leaders to question Starmer's capability to lead. Starmer's pronouncements are creating significant risks for British foreign policy, potentially straining relations with crucial allies like Saudi Arabia, given his suggestions of rapprochement with Assad's allies in Syria. Sir John Sawers, former head of MI6, has warned of the considerable dangers of engaging with HTS, despite the group's attempts to distance itself from its terrorist past. Starmer's approach to Middle East policy reveals a lack of understanding of complex conflicts, treating them as simple negotiations. This is not only naive, but could prove disastrous for British diplomacy, and the situation may well worsen. Having disrupted foreign policy, Starmer has shifted focus to the economy, but his promises are meeting with widespread skepticism. A £100 million fund for public service reform is criticised as insufficient to address real needs. Targets such as building 1.5 million homes or accelerating 150 infrastructure projects are deemed unachievable, with many experts citing them as difficult and costly undertakings. Starmer's job creation promises, particularly during his Gulf visit, lack concrete details, leaving many doubtful of their feasibility. The British Chambers of Commerce also do not believe his optimistic growth forecasts, predicting just 0.8% growth this year. Starmer's recent speech outlining 6 pillars for his government failed to impress, with many desiring results rather than more promises. Real issues like rising living costs, tax changes, and a struggling economy appear to have been overlooked while he focuses on these grand ambitions. So what is the real cost of all of this? We are talking about billions of pounds of spending without a clear plan to foot the bill. As Starmer's credibility wanes, His attempts to regain footing only worsen matters, and ultimately, it will be the British people who bear the burden of these economic dreams. Starmer's approval rating has plummeted to -32%, making even Boris Johnson seem more popular. This decline raises serious questions about his future leadership of the Labour Party. Recent mistakes regarding Syria and the Middle East have fueled doubts about Starmer's leadership capabilities, even within the Labour Party itself, where skepticism is emerging about his and Deputy Leader Rachel Reeves's leadership. Starmer's Syria misstep is not only embarrassing but also threatens his career, with his naive approach drawing comparisons to Tony Blair's downfall after the Iraq War. The British Chambers of Commerce also doubt the achievability of Starmer's economic growth pledges, creating a significant credibility crisis for the Labour Party. It is not just Starmer's reputation that is at risk. The Labour Party's credibility in foreign affairs is also in peril. This crisis is far from over, as Starmer tries to save face. However, his next move could shock even his most loyal supporters. But how many more errors can he make before the Labour Party seeks a new leader? Given the current situation, it is possible he will not make it to the next election. The opposition, particularly Kemi Badenoch, a leader within the Conservative Party, has criticised Labour for lacking a clear immigration policy, further undermining faith in Starmer's strategy. Starmer's recent performances have not been particularly impressive. His speeches have been met with awkward coughs and sparse applause, not the reaction you'd hope for when trying to garner support. The big question is, what's behind this sudden pivot to domestic issues? Is Starmer genuinely trying to address voter concerns? Or is this merely an attempt to divert attention away from his foreign policy blunders? While Starmer's current situation is already precarious, it may be about to get even worse. Rumours are circulating that a new scandal is brewing, one that could potentially destroy his political career. Could anything be worse than what we've already witnessed so far? We are about to find out. A bombshell revelation about Starmer's political dealings has just been unveiled. This scandal paints serious connections to some of the darkest chapters in British political history. The shocking truth is that Starmer's recent remarks about Syria were not just naive, but could potentially be illegal. Sources within the Labour Party suggest that Starmer held unauthorised discussions with members of Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, a group linked to Al-Qaeda, before making his public statements. If true, we are talking about a serious breach of national security. The Labour Party is in turmoil. Senior Labour members are distancing themselves from Starmer. One anonymous MP suggested that if the allegations against him are true, Starmer's position is untenable. Calls for his resignation are growing louder, with many MPs beginning to discuss potential replacements. The media, even outlets traditionally sympathetic to Labour, are questioning Starmer's leadership, especially regarding the secret Syria talks. The public and social media are reacting strongly, with hashtags like #StarmerMustGo trending. Faith in Starmer is crumbling rapidly. Starmer's political future is looking bleak. His Syria missteps have spiralled into a full-blown crisis, threatening the Labour Party's credibility. Will he fight to clear his name or resign? The coming days will be crucial as this political drama unfolds. The impact on the British people is becoming increasingly evident. The question is, who will hold the government to account when the opposition may lack a leader? And how will Britain's foreign policy change? Starmer's foreign policy blunders are not only embarrassing, but are also having a serious impact on the British economy and the jobs of British citizens. Industries, particularly in areas like clean energy and high technology in the north, face the risk of being damaged if international relations sour. Starmer has promised to create jobs through international partnerships with countries like Saudi Arabia and the UAE, but these commitments now appear unrealistic given his struggling foreign policy. Furthermore, the British Chambers of Commerce believes that Starmer's economic growth plans lack feasibility and practicality, leaving many business leaders sceptical. High-tech industries, especially in clean energy and advanced materials in the north of England, are at risk if international relations don't improve. Small businesses and exporting farmers also face major hurdles if the international trade environment worsens. Starmer has failed to grasp the real consequences of his foreign policy as British citizens worry about their job security. The long-term result could be unemployment and economic instability due to this foreign policy shortfall. So, what does this mean for you? If you're counting on those promised jobs in clean energy or advanced materials, you might want to start thinking about a plan B. And if you work in an industry that relies on international trade or investment, prepare for some tough times ahead. But don't expect Labour to admit they got it wrong. They are gearing up to launch a massive damage control campaign. Believe me. What do you think? Is Starmer finished, or is there a chance he can turn things around? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the latest videos on politics and important events. Thank you for watching. See you next time.